Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Vivian, and in today's video we are going to be looking at some basic formulas that we can use for Excel calculation. Whether you are working from home or you're also working from the office, these formulas are very key and they are important. They are just for everyday use. So I have a workbook of data here. If you're familiar with Excel, so a workbook is simply like a textbook, and then with sheets or with pages on that textbook. So this is a workbook of data, and then in this workbook we have sheet 1, sheet 2 and sheet 3. So we are going to be looking at 6 formulas in sheet 1. So we have the sum formula, max, min, count, count A and count blank. Also, just a quick recap. Excel is simply a spreadsheet that we can use to store data. We can use it for basic calculations, even advanced calculations. It consists of columns and rows. This is a column, which is column I, this is column J, and this is row 1 and this is row 2. Wherever we have our cursor, so these boxes are simply called cells. Wherever we have our cursor is the current or the active cell. So currently we have our cursor in column J, row 5. You can see with this tick bar here, green, and then this one, it just tells you that this is J5 and this is I1. We are going to start by calculating the sum function. So this is the sheet of students' grades. We have about 9 students and their grades are in maths, English, chemistry, physics and biology. So to calculate the sum, we can either work down this way or we work down this way, or we calculate the sum total of all the data points. So let's just take the last bit. We calculate the sum total of all the total points. So one quick way of doing that is selecting all the data points and then clicking auto sum, and then that just calculates the sum of all the data points starting from each row. Let's say we want to calculate the sum of all the total points and not just the row. So we put our cursor here, which is our active cursor. In Excel, whenever you are working out a formula or working with any formula, you always start with equal to sign. So because we are looking at sum, we want to say equal to sum. Let's say we want to sum up or we want to add up these two active cells. So we have C2 and C3. We just simply say C2 and then you see that it automatically selects it. Then we add a column, C3, and then we close our bracket. This is telling us that this formula is summing up these two cells. And you can see this is a formula bar. It tells you, or it shows you what you have typed in that active cell. So we press enter and it sums up these two. 70 plus 80 is simply 150. So let's sum up everything. So we put equal to sum and then open bracket. We select from here, drag down until here. So it's telling us that we want to sum from active cell C2 up to G10, which is what we have here. Close the bracket and enter, and then the total of all the data points or all the values is 3,462. Then to get the maximum number is just the same concept. So you put equal to max, which is here. You see as you type in, the formulas are showing up. Open bracket. Are we getting the maximum number of all the data points or all the columns or the row, whatever, however you want it. So let's say we want to get for all the data points, and as you can see, the maximum number here should be max C2 column G10. Close the bracket, enter. Is 98. If you look at it, you can see that nothing is bigger than 98 here. 98 is the data point, which is what we have here, is the maximum. And then we work out the minimum. Again, same concept. You just put equal to min or minimum, open bracket, and then minimum of what? All of the data points as well. then close the bracket and then enter. The minimum value we have here is 49. I hope this is clear. If you have any question, please comment down below so that I can clarify. Then using the count function only counts numeric values. So let's say we have a text value here, or let's say we have just an alphabet B. It will not count it. It only counts numeric values. So I delete it. It will only count all the numbers. So let's say we want to count the entire number, or we want to just count from the column C. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 equal to count, again the same concept, open bracket. What are we counting from? C, drag it down. You can just put C column C2 column C10, or just drag it however you want it. Then close the bracket and enter, and you see we have 9 data points. Count A is very easy as well. Count A counts all the values irrespective of whether the value is a number or a text. So remember, we have 9 numeric values. So let's say I put C here, I put B here. Think about what it will work out to be. So let's say equal to the same concept, count A, open bracket. We count from here this time, C2 up to this bit here, C12, and then we close it. Now we have 11 data points. So it's counting both the numeric values and the text, or whatever text value we have put in. This is what the count A does. Then let's see the count blank. Equal to, let's think about what count blank will be. So count blank simply counts the empty or blank cells. Only the empty or blank cells, regardless of whether you selected any numeric values, any text values. It only counts the empty or blank cells. I hope that's understandable. So count blank again is here, and then open bracket. This time we'll select from here. Remember, we have 2 blank spaces. So we have from C2 up to C14. We close it. Always remember to close your bracket. Enter. You see that we only have 2 spaces. Even though we selected all of these values, we only have 2 empty spaces. So I hope this is clear with this 6 formula or functions, however you want to call it. And remember that the formula bar will always display whether you have used the correct formula or not. Previously, my student I used to teach, what they did when they forgot how to put the formula, they just used some sort of calculator and wrote it down. So for example, let's say we want to sum up C2 and C. Okay, let's use another cell. So we want to do E2 and E3. So instead of doing it like this, equal to sum E2 column E3, which is 156. What they did, they just came here. Remember, whenever you have used the formula, it shows up on the formula bar. So this was how I used to catch my students who have probably forgotten how to use their formula, or have done some sort of manipulation to get to the result. So it's 156. So let's say we just come here, we work it out and say, oh, 78 plus 78 is 156. We just type the answer here. What is the formula bar going to show? It's not going to show us any formula. It will only show that we have manually typed the answer. So please remember this, guys. I think we are done with these 6 formulas. So next, let's look at sheet 2. So in sheet 2, I'm only going to be doing multiplication, division, and averaging. I've put down these very simple numbers because we can easily work out these numbers without having to use calculators. So let's say we want to multiply 2 by 2. So it's still the same concept, equal to B. So this time around, we're going to use asterisk. So it will be A2, then asterisk B2, right? So this is A2 and this is B2. I hope you can see it, guys. Let me increase the font size. It's easier to see. I think this is better. So equal to A2 asterisk B2. So this is selecting A2 as the starting point. That is why it's blue. And then red is the end point. So if you enter, it gives you 4. So that is the answer. So one quick way of doing this thing, instead of doing it cell by cell, you can just drag it down. So put the cursor at the first cell where you have the first answer, and then when the cursor changes, just drag it down, and then it automatically works out the rest values. So for example, looking at the formula bar, you have A2 times B2. Here you have A3 times B3. Here you have, so Excel never makes any mistake like that. So it automatically is telling it that whatever I've used, whatever technique or whatever formula I've used here, apply it to the rest while taking note of the changes in terms of the rows and the columns. So this is how you work out this. Then division is also the same concept. You just need to say equal to A2. This time we just put a slash, divide by B2. So again, enter. 2 by 2 is 1. 10 by 10 is 1. Just drag it down and then you see the answer. So average is simply adding up the number and dividing by the number of sets or the total number. So if we're going to average these two values, we're simply going to say 2 plus 2 divided by the count. 2, 1, 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Divide by 2 is what? 2. So you simply say equal to average. This time around you say average. You can see the formula here on the drop down. Equal to A2 column, just like we did with the sum, B2. Then enter. You see, then drag it down and then you also get your values. So 10 plus 10 divided by 2 is 10. Okay, so look at this one. 10 plus 50 is 60, divided by 2 is 30. So that is the easiest way to do the averages. It doesn't matter the number of cells you have or how big your data is. The concept still remains the same. Then in the third sheet, which is the very last formula, we are just counting the length or the number of characters in a cell. So here, if you look at cell A2, we have James, and James is how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say we want to count the number of characters. We just simply say equal to, this time around we don't put length in full, we just put len, L-E-N. So it's there. And then open bracket, what are we counting? We're counting A2, we're counting cell A2. Just simply say A2 and then close it, close the bracket. You see it's 5. And then again, let's drag down. The cell changes, taking note of the row